When viewers first noticed Ben Napier appearing less frequently on episodes of Hometown, the internet immediately started filling with theories. Some fans thought he was leaving television completely. Others wondered if there was tension behind the scenes between Ben and Erin. A few even speculated that HGTV had quietly shifted the focus of the series away from him. For years, Ben had been one of the defining faces of the show, the calm and steady craftsman whose woodworking skills and easy personality gave every renovation project at heart. So when his screen time suddenly changed, audiences paid attention. The difference was subtle at first. The camera spent more time following Erin through design meetings and conversations with homeowners, while Ben appeared mostly during short workshop scenes or quick construction updates. But over time, viewers realized something significant had happened behind the scenes, and the truth turned out to be far more personal and complicated than most people expected. Long before fame arrived, Ben Napier was simply a small-town craftsman living in Laurel, Mississippi. He and Erin were not trying to become television stars. They were restoring old homes because they genuinely loved history, architecture, and the feeling of bringing forgotten places back to life. Erin documented their projects online through photos and stories, while Ben spent countless hours building furniture, repairing damaged woodwork, and learning the kind of hands-on skills that are becoming increasingly rare. Their authenticity stood out immediately. At a time when many renovation shows focus on drama and oversized budgets, Ben and Erin felt different. They represented patience, family, and community. Their work was not about flipping houses for profit. It was about preserving stories. When HGTV discovered them, the network saw something unique. Hometown premiered in 2016 and quickly developed a loyal audience. Viewers connected with the warmth of Laurel and with the chemistry between Ben and Erin. Unlike many television couples, they never seemed to be performing for the cameras. Ben especially became popular because of the way he approached construction. He was not flashy or loud. He carried himself with quiet confidence, explaining difficult structural problems in simple language, while carefully restoring historic details most contractors would have ignored. Fans loved watching him turn worn-out lumber into beautiful custom pieces. His woodworking scenes became one of the defining elements of the show. As the years passed, the demands of fame increased dramatically. The series expanded, ratings climbed, and the Napiers suddenly found themselves balancing television production, business responsibilities, public appearances, interviews, books, and family life all at once. Ben continued doing physically demanding labor despite the increasingly intense schedule. Day after day, he lifted heavy beams, operated machinery, climbed ladders, and handled complicated restoration projects. Television only showed the finished results, but behind every completed renovation were exhausting workdays that often stretched for hours under extreme pressure. Renovation television may look relaxing on screen, but in reality, it places enormous strain on the people doing the work. At first, Ben ignored the warning signs. Like many craftsmen, he pushed through discomfort because he believed the job needed to be finished no matter what. Crew members reportedly noticed him favoring one arm during certain projects, and Erin later hinted in interviews that his body had been struggling long before viewers realized something was wrong. Tasks that once seemed effortless became more difficult. Lifting materials caused pain. Long construction days became harder to recover from. Yet Ben kept working, because that was simply his nature. He had built his identity around reliability, hard work, and craftsmanship. Stopping was never something he considered easily. Eventually, the pain became impossible to ignore. Medical evaluations revealed that Ben had suffered a serious shoulder injury involving his rotator cuff. For someone whose career depended on physical labor, it was devastating news. A rotator cuff injury affects movement, strength, and endurance, making even ordinary tasks painful. In Ben's case, continuing to work without treatment could cause long-term damage that might permanently affect his ability to build and create. Doctors recommended surgery, followed by an extensive recovery process. Suddenly, the man viewers associated with sawdust, hammers, and custom woodworking was being told he could no longer push his body the way he always had. That injury changed everything about how Hometown was filmed. During recovery, Ben could not participate in heavy construction work. Simple movements became restricted. Physical therapy became part of his daily routine. Instead of spending entire days on active job sites, he had to step back and focus on healing. This was the real reason viewers saw less of him during parts of the show. It was not a feud. It was not a secret exit from HGTV. It was a reality of a hard-working craftsman reaching a physical breaking point after years of demanding labor. For fans, the shift felt emotional because Ben had always represented stability. His presence grounded the series. When he stepped back, even temporarily, the tone of the show changed. Erin naturally took on a larger role, guiding projects and carrying more of the on-screen storytelling. While she had always been central to the series, viewers suddenly realized how much the balance between them mattered. Ben was more than a contractor. He was part of the emotional rhythm of the show. His quiet reactions, problem-solving moments, and workshop scenes gave the renovations weight and authenticity. The experience also forced Ben to confront difficult questions about his future. For years, he had measured his value through physical work. Building things with his hands was not just a career. It was part of his identity. Recovery required him to slow down and accept limitations he never imagined facing. That mental adjustment proved just as difficult as the physical rehabilitation itself. In interviews following the surgery, Ben admitted that stepping away from active labor was emotionally challenging. Watching others perform tasks he normally handled personally was frustrating. Yet the experience also changed his perspective. Rather than try to return to his old pace immediately, Ben began rethinking how he approached work entirely. He started focusing more on leadership, planning, and specialized craftsmanship rather than nonstop physical labor. Instead of personally handling every heavy task, he delegated more responsibilities to trusted crew members. He also explored safer techniques and tools designed to reduce strain on his body. The change was subtle on television, but behind the scenes, it represented a major evolution in how he worked. At the same time, fans began appreciating a side of Ben they had not fully seen before. Recovery made him more open about health, exhaustion, and the realities of physically demanding careers. Many viewers connected deeply with that honesty. In a culture that often glorifies nonstop hustle, Ben's situation highlighted the hidden costs of overwork. People admired the fact that he prioritized long-term health over appearances or production schedules. Instead of pretending nothing was wrong, he allowed audiences to see vulnerability alongside strength. His relationship with Erin also became even more important during this period. Throughout the recovery process, Erin carried additional responsibilities both on-screen and off-screen. She managed design work, filming schedules, parenting, and emotional support all at once. Yet rather than creating distance between them, the challenge appeared to strengthen their partnership. Their dynamic shifted naturally, showing a different kind of teamwork built around support rather than perfectly divided roles. Fans noticed how protective and encouraging Erin became during interviews discussing Ben's recovery, while Ben openly credited her for helping him through one of the most difficult periods of his adult life. Away from television, Ben also focused more attention on family life. Fame had already transformed the Napiers into public figures, but they remained unusually protective of their daughters and private routines. Even during the height of their popularity, they resisted turning their family into nonstop social media content. That decision became even more important after Ben's injury. Recovery forced him to slow down enough to spend more uninterrupted time at home, and by many accounts, it reshaped his priorities. Success no longer meant simply expanding projects and working harder. It also meant preserving health, marriage, and family stability. Another reason fans became so concerned during his reduced appearances was because Ben had built a reputation for consistency. He rarely engaged in public controversy or dramatic headlines. Unlike many television personalities, he maintained a relatively grounded image focused on craftsmanship and community revitalization. That made any noticeable change feel significant. Social media amplified the speculation because viewers were used to seeing him actively involved in every stage of construction. Once that changed, theories spread quickly. But perhaps the biggest misunderstanding was the idea that Ben had somehow disappeared from the show entirely. In reality, he never truly left. His role simply evolved. Instead of being constantly visible in physically intense scenes, he became more selective about where he focused his energy. The workshop remained central to his identity, but he approached projects with greater caution and intention. Recovery taught him that sustainability mattered more than proving toughness. The entire experience also revealed something important about why audiences connected so strongly with Ben in the first place. People were not just watching him build furniture or renovate homes. They were watching someone who genuinely cared about quality, history, and people. His craftsmanship represented patience in a fast-moving world. Even when he stepped back physically, those values remained intact. In many ways, the quieter version of Ben that emerged after the injury felt even more authentic because viewers saw the real human cost behind the polished television image. As production continued, Hometown gradually adapted to the new reality. Episodes leaned more heavily into storytelling, community impact, and collaborative renovation work rather than focusing entirely on Ben performing physical labor. The series evolved without abandoning its core identity. Fans ultimately accepted the changes because they understood the reason behind them. What initially felt alarming became a story about resilience and adaptation instead of disappearance. Ben also expanded his focus beyond traditional television filming. His woodworking company continued growing, allowing him to channel creativity into projects that could be managed at a healthier pace. Rather than trying to constantly outwork his physical limitations, he concentrated on craftsmanship that emphasized quality over quantity. That shift reflected maturity and long-term thinking rather than defeat. In many ways, the injury forced him to become more strategic instead of simply working harder. Interestingly, the ordeal may have strengthened the Napiers' overall brand rather than weakening it. Audiences increasingly value honesty, especially in reality television where authenticity can sometimes feel manufactured. Ben's recovery journey reminded viewers that behind every television personality is a real person dealing with real challenges. The situation made the couple seem even more relatable because they handled the crisis quietly and realistically instead of turning it into dramatic publicity. The public reaction also demonstrated how deeply audiences cared about Ben personally. Fans were not simply worried about losing a television host. They were concerned about someone they had invited into their homes for years through the screen. That emotional connection cannot be faked. It was built slowly through authenticity, consistency, and years of showing genuine passion for restoration work and community life. Today, Ben Napier remains an essential part of Hometown, but he approaches life differently than before. The injury forced him to reconsider the balance between ambition and sustainability. He still builds, designs, and creates, but with greater awareness of physical limits and long-term health. Fans who feared his disappearance eventually realized the truth was much simpler and more human. Ben did not vanish because of scandal, conflict, or failure. He stepped back because years of relentless physical work finally caught up with him. In the end, what really happened to Ben Napier was not the collapse of a television career. It was a reality of a hard-working craftsman learning that even the strongest people have limits. The experience changed the way he works, the way the show is filmed, and perhaps even the way he sees success itself. But it also revealed something deeper about his character. Instead of hiding the struggle or pretending nothing had changed, he adapted, he healed, and he found a new way forward without abandoning the values that made audiences admire him in the first place. That may ultimately be why viewers continue supporting Ben and Erin after all these years. Beneath the renovations, the workshops, and the television cameras, their story has always been about resilience, family, and rebuilding. Sometimes the homes are the things being restored. Sometimes it is the people themselves.